Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Factor X number 1. This is part 17 of the Age of Apocalypse series that we've been going over. And one thing I always forget about Factor X is how dark this book is, because you see some of the more classic X-Men and it just gives you the shivers. So the print date on this book was March 1995. And this focuses on the prelates. And who are the prelates? We'll get into that here in a second. I know we've kind of jumped over it, but for those of you that are just joining, make sure to check out the former reviews that we've done. And we'll go ahead and start here. We see mutants trying to run away from Apocalypse's stronghold here in Manhattan. And they're bickering about, I'm too tired, leave them. And like, we escape from the pins together, we stick together. And so right there, the stakes are set for this book. But before anything else can happen, 90s happens. The vertical splash page, which I always welcome. I think they are beautiful. I just wish there was a way we could do this without the spine getting in the way. But anyway, they get caught by Cyclops. So these mutants are part of the breeding pens for McCoy's Dark Designs. And here, the prelates and the elites. So this is Jean Paul and Jeannie Marie from Alpha Flight, Cyclops, and Havoc. As you can see here, Cyclops says, surrender, Artemis. You and your band of runaways have nowhere to go. And look at, while Cyclops is kind of being more like a policeman in a sense, voila, Jean Paul, our prey has arrived. I hope they resist, Jeannie Marie. And then Havoc. This is not the Alex Summers we know. Why bother talking, Scott? They're runaways. They might as well be flat scans. They're nothing. And so just look at the difference of traits here. How some people have just fallen into Apocalypse's, goose stepping along with him, while others are trying to still be their own individual. And we'll get more into that here in a second. This book is called Sinister Neglect. This is a John Francis Moore writer, which I've not really ever heard of John Francis Moore, at least to my recollection. If I'm spacing, let me know down in the comments. This is Steve Epting, the penciler, Al Milgram inks, Starkings and Chromacraft lettering, Glynis Oliver colorist, old school, Kelly Covers editor, and Bob Harris chief. And so this guy says, vampires, you talk about the brotherhoods of mutants, but you'd eat your young if Sinister commanded. So this right here, from what I understand, that is Avalanche. I'm not sure who Artemis is. I think she's a Morlock in the 616 universe. But you can see that these escapees do not want to go back. And again, check out Cyclops here. He goes, why do you have to make this difficult? Now, what I like is how the third person narrative here is Sinister. And let me see if I'm missing anything that I really wanted to go over. Yes, I did. So check this out. First and foremost, before we even go back, let me get back to this 90s page. It says, when Apocalypse took Washington, his army was a cadre of mutants, savage and unyielding in battle against human and misguided mutant alike. Now, if in the aftermath of their victory they have succumbed to a certain decadent cruelty, I can forgive them for it. After all, in so many ways, they are my children. So you can kind of see why the prelates here kind of have this superiority complex about them, and why they see everyone else as inferior. And so this gentleman here, he goes, keep behind me. He goes, no one's going to lock us up again. And so this is Pyro. And well, he blows up Havoc's bike. And now look at his contempt. He goes, I love that bike. Now you've got me mad, Ozzy. And see right here, it says Alex Summers, like his brother, a battery of contained energy. But unlike his brother, too often without restraint. So again, just very much far cry from the person we know. You know, like this girl here, she goes, if you have any mercy, kill me now, because she doesn't want to go back to the pens. And Jeannie Marie, she just goes, pathetic. And it says, just as corrupt as her twin. Now, Cyclops is hunting for Artemis. She can blend in with the walls. And she actually catches him by surprise because Cyclops is not looking to want to kill her. He's trying to talk to her. He pins her and he goes, I don't want to have to hurt you. Oh, your concern touches me, Summers, but you should know better. There's no place for compassion in post-apocalypse America. And before he can get any type of sense into her, you see Havoc's ability hit her, and he goes, no! He's like, why do you care? She was a rabbit. So you see what this world has done to people that we care about, like the mutants that we care about. And you can see what's happened to the Statue of Liberty. And Sinister says, Liberty's generous countenance has been replaced by the stern and fearsome visage of Apocalypse. A warning to the world that as America offers no succor to the homeless and tempest-tossed. And then he says, he has secreted himself from Apocalypse's watchful eye by standing in the representation of that same eye. So, you learn why Sinister is betraying Apocalypse. I really don't want to spoil it. I thought about it, but I don't want to. So if you want to know why, please read this book. It's interesting because, Sinister's always been more of a man of science. Apocalypse has always been more about domination and survival of the fittest. So why they got together, it explains all that in that panel. And then we go into the pens, and he talks about how the pens are used as people that Sinister has spared from the cullings of all across the world. He even says, here he goes, I delivered these select few from certain death of the cullings, though some continued to rebel against their participation in my glorious design. So you see that there's some unrest in the pens. And we're introduced to Elizabeth Gerthy. And Sinister says, I found the Gerthy orphans living in abject poverty in the hills of Kentucky. What a discovery of diamonds in the rough. 3 of the siblings, mutants. Elizabeth, the teenaged Amazon. And then this one should be familiar to you guys. Samuel, Cannonball, whose anger channels into explosive and propulsive energy. I only regret that their younger sister, Paige, refused my sponsorship. So right there, I like how the writer explains how the Gerthy family has been separated by ideals, and how Sam, instead of being a new mutant, he's now part of Apocalypse's plan, and he's just as ruthless as his older sister, and how Paige did not want to have that life and went with Magneto and joined up with Generation Next. And of course, we always know how Sam always has a big heart. But listen how he talks now. He goes, I'm going to show y'all what happens to norms who don't know their place. And then again, Cyclops, the voice of reason amongst all this cruelty. At ease, Gerthy, no need to be cruel. We are negotiating with the Human High Council after all. So Cyclops believes in the Kelly Packs, while everyone else knows it's BS. And Cyclops tears into him. He goes, Alex, keep your droogs in line. I've got to check in with Sinister. Prelate, do I have to take that from him? Sinister made my brother head of the EMF. He outranks us all. For now. So you can see how Havoc just does not like his brother. Compared to they have a relatively tight bond in the 616 universe. Here we're shown how Beast was sort of brought in to the mix with Sinister and how he was given full reign with no constraints on science. Hence how he's able to make the infinites. And I like the way Alex comes to talk to him. He goes, Alex Summers, are you experiencing separation pangs following your unfortunate transporter mishap? What are we talking about? Check out Weapon X #1. That was kind of brutal what happened there. And now Beast goes in to talk about how he takes the humans and mutants, dumps them in this pool, and how it kills them, breaks them down into basics of DNA so he can build these infinites. And he even says, with these Kelly packs and this talk of, not doing human experimentation, how's Ms. McCoy's baby boy supposed to create bigger, better, and bolder infinites without bodies? So that is not the Henry McCoy we know. Now what I like is how we see what's happened to Sam. We see what's happened to Beast. We see what's happened to Cyclops, Alex, and you're just starting to feel this pit in your stomach of dread because you know how they really are. So I'm glad that the writer gives us some levity with the Bedlam brothers. We think there's a big fight, and you come to find out that they're just horseplaying. These are brothers. It's like, do you give up? To you? Not in a million. Oh, hi, Scott. Sorry, we were just fooling around. And so you see that even though these brothers that they work for are Sinister, they still kind of have a heart in a sense. And what I like is Sinister says, I could always tell Scott envied the Bedlam's bond. At times, I imagine he's felt as alone as the disembodied telepaths I've bred as gatekeepers. So Cyclops is trying to figure out where Sinister is, because when they talked in X-Men Alpha, that was kind of the last time they had any type of heart-to-heart, because Cyclops sees him as a father. And he goes, goodbye, my son. And so that's kind of what Factor X really leads into, is what's happened to Sinister. What is Sinister's machinations at this point? Well, the Bedlams take the night off. They go to Heaven, which is Warren Worthington's establishment. And even Havoc attends this place. And there's something we'll learn with Havoc here in a minute. And remember the singer Scarlet from X-Men Alpha? Well, someone breaks in. It's like, have I got your attention, you mutant abominations? Humanity will never bow down to you freaks. You can't kill all of us. That's Henry Geinrich. So even though he's kind of a, stern, very idealistic zealot in the 616 universe, just kind of interesting take on him here. Nonetheless, he's taking care of it in a semi-funny way. Scarlet calls it a night, and I'm going to spoil this part because you find out a lot more about her down the road. But her secrets have secrets. And the reason these panels are important is because that certain prelate right there is a mutant, and Scarlet's a human. Heaven allows both because it's sort of like the demilitarized zone. It's kind of like how am I trying to say it? It's sort of a middle ground where nothing is supposed to happen, but that's where the gray lines start to happen. So as things continue, you see things begin to escalate between Scott and Havoc. They find out some things about Sinister. And then the last panel I want to show you is what they discover about Sinister. Cyclops has to step up. And Havoc says, not if I have anything to do about it, brother. And what I love is the way the tension builds up into the last couple of pages. Just, you feel it. You're just like, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen with these two people that I care about in the main universe, and why they hate each other now? So Factor X kind of really begins to set everything up that leads to X-Men Omega. This is kind of that main book that kind of shows you the main world, as where the rest of them kind of break out and do world building, which is exactly what I love about this series, because everyone took their time and everything flows natural, in my opinion. So anyway, if you guys have enjoyed Factor X #1, please make sure to support your local comic shop and pick up all 4 issues, because each Age of Apocalypse book is 4 issues long, except for like, what is it, X-Universe, X-Men Chronicles, and of course the one-shots and stuff like that. But the main books are all 4 issues each. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a minute to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel grow. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe. That way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified and come to the channel. And we love to hear your feedback and just, talking with y'all and hear your feedback down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So with all that said, thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.